Okay, there we go.
And that's a very Christian Brindle thing to do.
Oh, okay.
Good.
I know this is
got the
off
notification.
topic. I know this is off topic, guys, but I just saw Joanna Wyckoff got her ticket to Mastermind in Memphis.
I missed like the first half hour.
Okay.
She did.
Okay. All right, Joanna
Hey.
Wyckoff.
I'm making a drink today. If anyone can tell me, first person. Oh, I'm going to break it. Open. Okay, first person tell me what I'm making gets bonus points. This is black tea.
I see. I thought it was going to be Mountain Dew and Blue Powerade from.
I know we
last
talked
week.
about that last week. This is the classy version of mixed drinks here. Let's see if I can not pour this on my computer. There we go. There we go. Anybody? Tea and lemonade?
Arnold Palmer.
Arnold Palmer.
Oh, Scotty O'Brien. That's
Beat
what
me
I'm
to it.
talking about.
Beat me to it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, guys. So I'm going to do my taco unveiling because I just can't wait. I haven't opened them yet, so this is real time.
Same.
And these are new tacos that I've never yet encountered before. All right, guys. So we got a chicken taco as well as a spicy shrimp taco.
Okay.
Icy shrimp. Oh, that sounds
Spicy
horrible.
Shrimp. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be good.
I see you, Christian.
I just know it. I feel it, and I feel it.
Scotty, are you a shrimp fan?
I am actually, surprisingly.
That is a surprise. I
And
guess
this is
fried,
real, like authentic, like tacos. You know, like there's this little stand out by the road, and they sell tacos, and they get like lines around the block for these guys.
We have in the town I live in, it's Kings of Acadia or something like that, taco. It's this Hispanic family there that's local, and they spend all week just preparing meat, all that stuff in their food truck. They go park it right there in the middle of town, and that's usually what my tacos are. Hopefully that's what's at home for me when I get home.
That sounds amazing. I'm not so lucky. This is and normally I get a burrito from Chipotle, but I'm scared of anybody who's watching this. I don't want to get berated for having a non-taco item on Taco Tuesday. So today it is actual tacos, guys. 3 tacos, chicken tacos from Chipotle. I'm excited about this.
I'd be more afraid of the Freebirds versus Chipotle beratement.
Touche.
So-
Scotty, I would love for you to kind of introduce yourself for anybody who might not know who you are, or who isn't your friend on Facebook, which you should be if you're watching this, especially if you're watching this in the 6-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. You should add Scotty as a friend right now. Scotty, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Agreed.
Hi, my name is Scotty. Nice to meet everybody. I am the biggest fan of Glenn and Christian. I try to hype them up, and that's really my sole existence. But in my spare time, when I'm not that, I am a marketing director at Senior Security Benefits. So we're an FMO in Fort Worth, and we do Medicare supplements. And you probably have seen Queen of the Bundle, Galen Hendricks. That's my boss. And so we do dental plans, cancer plans, phone sales training, everything from contracting agent on to helping them get policy issued and all things fun. So basically today I talked to Kevin Moore at Aetna more times today than I have in a month. He was glad to get rid of me from AAP, but it was trying to get policy stuff figured out and contracting and commission questions. So in a nutshell, that's who I am and that's what I do. And my Facebook isn't the most exciting insurance Facebook, but I'll be glad to be your friend.
I would beg to differ, Scotty. I am living vicariously through you. I want your farm life. I'm super jealous. I don't even know if you want to talk about this, Scotty, but I'm talking about it. You even built a house that I was looking at building. You're like, I have a secret crush on you, Scotty. I'm going to be honest here. You built a barn dominium. This is kind of off topic here, but you built a barn dominium, didn't you?
We did. So we live south of Fort Worth, about 40 miles. And so we live on 40 acres. Initially it was 80, but we just sold out half of it. and we built the barn dominium on it, and we finished construction. The first day it actually was, have you ever seen the post, what were you doing on March 13th? Well, our first day of COVID was moving into it. And so we had 2020 was a really good year for me and my family. Of our COVID memories were settling into our new place, you know, exploring the property. My kids, my oldest one is 6 and I've got a 5-year-old. And it was a really awesome time. And COVID was a struggle for many, and I understand that, but that time period is something that we'll probably remember for a long time, because it really was a great time to be there. So of course our Facebook was those antics of our kids learning how to climb a tree, or, you know, we've got 2 tanks with fish on it, and we have got some cows, and my daughters play with those, and dogs. We tried chickens, but the dogs ate all the chickens, so we don't have those anymore.
So Scotty, I wanted to point out, has a sneaky good TikTok account also.
Oh,
I mean, if you're not following him on TikTok, I haven't got on much recently, but every time I do get on, he seems to be the first person I see, you know, like, and he's always got something that's making me laugh, like almost every single time.
TikTok is my guilty pleasure. I hate how much I love TikTok. It's awful how much I love it. In fact, my 6-year-old, you could text me a picture or a funny video and I'll be playing it. She goes, "Are you watching a TikTok?" We're like, "No, it's just a regular picture. It's not the real thing. Don't worry." And so,
it's not the real thing.
that's a sign of how much I love TikTok, because everything on your phone, is that a TikTok? No, it's not.
So we have a great topic to talk about today. You two bearded gentlemen. And it was something that, you know, when we started talking about it in the chat, I kind of got excited about, you know, kind of where the conversation could go. And it's something that's been talked about before, but I don't think quite like this. And that's, you know, a new agent just gets their license, right? They pass their test. They are brand spanking new, right? What should their first 12 months look like? Because I don't know about you guys, but if I could go back and redo my first 12 months, they would look very differently than they actually turned out. And I think, you know, if maybe I had some, you know, different voices in my ear for different things, I think my first year looked very differently. So I think that's, you know, what we were going to talk about today. Glenn, let's start out with you, because, you know, you've been on both sides of this, right? You've been an agent yourself. You've been someone that's worked with some of the most successful people in the industry in terms of helping them generate leads and market. What should an agent's first 12 months look like?
it's a great question. And I actually was talking to my friend Bill earlier today. Shout out to you, Mr. Bill. But
Bill Gates.
Yes, I didn't want to say the last name, but Scotty,
Name
you
dropper.
beat me to it. You know, it's just a casual friendship I have with Bill. No, Bill, he is the founder of Policy Bind, Bill Somerville. Shout out to you, Bill. But he was asking me about kind of that first experience. My first 12 months. I was actually talking about this earlier today with someone else. So it was very, very topical for me. And there's a lot of emotions to it too, because like you don't know what you're doing. You don't know if you're being told the truth from, you know, whoever it is that you're working with, which really sucks when there's a lack of transparency there as a new agent. So I think the first thing is like finding a credible upline is crucial. And you also, I think you kind of have to gauge the level of support that you need. That's a really big part of it too. You might come into the industry and you're already very well equipped to do this business on your own, and you don't need a lot of hand holding. And then there's other people that come into this industry, for example, agents I talk to every single day, where they just don't know their right foot from their left foot. And they are so clumsy. They just have no idea. So I think finding a credible upline that can match the support level that you need is one of the most crucial things a new agent can do. And you know, I don't know. It's tough. What else? What do you guys think beyond that? I mean, obviously that's a kind of a layup answer in many ways, but what else do you think a new agent, it's critical for them to do? Scotty.
So Scotty, I want to hear what you have to say, but there's one thing I want to just get out before I forget it. So I did a video today with Pete Fournier, and it's going to come out on the YouTube channel next week. So shameless plug. But anyway, we were having this conversation about, and I think it ties perfectly into this. And I think a lot of it depends on your business model. So it definitely is not a blanket statement, but I think it talks about agents that want to come into the business and recruit right away or too soon, and we had this great conversation about it. And I think we were just really, in tune about it. And I was talking about, how I've seen a lot of agents the last year or so that's kind of worked with our organization, and they'll write 15 apps, right? 20 apps. They'll start building their book. They'll have 30 apps, 40 apps. And then they'll be like, I'm ready to recruit. I'm like, no, you're not. You don't have any renewals. You don't know how much time this is going to take from you. You know what I mean? Like, that's just my perspective on it. Like, for me, we do a ton of recruiting now, but it's built on the foundation of my book of business that I built for years. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. As far as wanting to recruit immediately, I always tell people that tell me that if you don't have 8 to 10 hours a day to dedicate to downlines, you shouldn't get there. I had a really good conversation with an agent, and she's been in the under 65 space for a while, and she was talking about bringing on some agents. And she's finally getting to the place where she can. You need somebody that, contracting, you need an assistant, you need an admin or something if you're going to start recruiting, because you get really hard where you're having to sacrifice time of managing your clients and managing your agents. And both of those are big time sucks. It's a negative word, but that's kind of what it is. It's not a secret. I don't write. I strictly work with agents, and I tell people that all the time. I don't sell direct to consumer, because I don't have time to work with agents or work with clients. If I did that, the agents I work with, I wouldn't be able to. And I work with agencies. Our largest Aetna individual producer is one of my agents, and I've got people that work out of their basement office. And if I had a book of clients, I want to be able to dedicate the time to even that agency that's writing all that Aetna needs, or if somebody's got a mutual, because sometimes you guys have all had to call a carrier. There's stuff that you can call into and you can spend an hour on the phone trying to get something worked out. But imagine you're doing that on your own, but imagine you've even got 10 agents. 10 is a lot of agents, for somebody on their own. So imagine trying to get 10 agents issues handled. Now you start growing to 20. This is my 8th year. And I've got on, I pulled a report. These are not all active, but I'm pushing, a couple hundred agents that are active on our broker report. I've got agents, if I added the number that aren't writing, that aren't there, I want to have time to do it. And I say that not because it's like, oh, we're too busy for this, but people that want to get into recruiting, they don't realize how much of a time and energy that takes. You talk to some people that are getting to recruiting for the first time, talk to them in August and September of their first year, and they're so frazzled because they're trying to do their certifications. Well, not only are they trying to do their certifications, but now you've got a whole team of agents bombarding you. So it's not, I push them, yes, you need the capital, you need the renewals like Christian brought up, but you need to have the time. You really do. And you need to either have the time or you need to have the staff. And if you're starting out new, likely you don't have either of that. So for first 12 months, and this is what I always suggest to agents, if you call me and you're brand new with a license, in our office, when an agent calls us, the first questions they get asked is what do you want to write? How are you going to write it? And what's your game plan? So who is the companies? How is the leads? How are you getting your leads? Well, if they're a brand new agent, I really do, and this is not going to be a popular answer, but I think if you're brand new and you don't have any insurance background, meaning if you didn't have somebody introduce you or you're not coming from a call center, if you're brand new, I really think that agents would be better off starting out in an agency, either under an MGA that can step you through every day for an upline, or there's nothing wrong with being a call center agent. You need to have somebody that's there in person, standing over your shoulder to help correct any mistakes, that answer any questions you have. You can have somebody that's a distance, but again, you only can do so much over a phone call and email. We're still an old school in this world. And you can do all the trainings on YouTube and all that, but I'm old school enough to think that you don't know what you don't know. So all the online training in the world is great until you run into a situation and you don't have anybody there sitting beside you. But you really could save yourself a lot of trouble by having somebody next to you, because if you're out there and you have that first mess up out in the field, that's an awesome learning opportunity. I hope that those that have had it have learned from it. But at the end of the day, that's a learning opportunity that didn't have to be so vicious. That if you would have started out with an MGA, we're an FMO. Well, I mean, I'll take any contract that comes my way. But at the end of the day, I always tell people, if you're brand new, find an MGA in your area that could be a person in person to do things with. And again, I know that's not a popular answer, but I'll tell you, not every influencers, but there's a lot of them out there started out in a call center, and there's reasons why. Call center agents are intelligent. With the right manager, call center agents dangerous. When they decide to go independent, a call center agent really takes off. And I feel like sometimes call centers will get a bad rap, but I'll tell you, I've seen some pretty awesome agents come out of a call center because they learned how to quickly pivot. They learned how to do phone sales. And they did that without having to have the stress of figuring out how to buy leads, make the phone ring. Did they do their contracts? There was things they didn't have to do because somebody helped them with that. So they got to learn how to sell over the phone. And then when it became time to be independent, they had the skills, the sales skills down. They now need to learn how to do their paperwork and manage their leads. And so that's starting out. That's my suggestion. But again, that could be different. If you go independent and you start on MGA and you're on a street guide, figure out your leads immediately. And there's what is, and be realistic on your expectations of yourself. Don't think you're going to make 100,000 this year. I mean, there are people that can, but you need to have, again, a lot of time and a lot of money to set up for leads and do your research. I could ramble on for days, but sometimes I think that our bar to get into the insurance industry is not very high. There's a reason real estate and insurance licenses, those two flip-flop. Somebody will try it in one world and all of a sudden switch to the next. So it's very easy to get your insurance license. So your education's got to come from somewhere, I guess.
100%. 100%. I totally agree with everything you said there. For those of you who aren't watching this and you're listening to the replay of this in a podcast format, while Scotty was giving that wonderful answer, Christian Brindle, it appeared he regurgitated his taco. Christian, are you planning on feeding any baby birds? Is that what I was witnessing while Scotty was talking? I was trying to hold that laughter in. Somehow I did. I don't know. But there was taco. I think it was going in and coming out. Can you clarify for our listeners, Christian, what happened there?
Well, it's not my fault that, my staff brings me cat food and calls them tacos. I'm just kidding.
Well, Liz brought me Taco Bueno just right now, so I don't know if that
whoop, whoop.
Is the same where that works.
That counts. You're official now. So to get back to Scotty's point though, and this actually ties in kind of nicely to last week's episode where we were talking about Christian's story and his involvement in MLMs, and then we were kind of talking a little bit about how some of these agencies or IMOs are structured more like an MLM, which again, now it comes down to, are you recruiting to make a downline and you don't have experience, and just kind of that whole, it just makes a bad experience for all of us. If I was just telling, again, to kind of reference my talk with Bill earlier today, I think every agent that we can keep in the industry is helpful for all of us. There's not enough there's too many beneficiaries for any of us to possibly service. So this idea that there's not enough clients out there is just insane. That's not the truth at all. There's plenty of beneficiaries for all of us to work with. But the reality is that in that first 12-month window, it's so easy to fail out. Cody Askins obviously talks about the 8% being the ones that typically hang on past 12 months. Shout out to my 92% Nation fans out there.
What?
Whoop, whoop. But I think it's a huge disservice to anybody who is recruiting in their first 12 months, unless you have some type of special situation, kind of like what Scotty was saying. If you're coming out of maybe a captive environment, or maybe you have like a family business behind you where even if you're newly licensed, but you're not new to the industry, I think there's always exceptions to the rule. But in general, I think anyone who comes in and they're building a downline in the first 12 months, probably not the best person to contract with. That would be my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and it boils down to both the agent and the upline. whatever situation you're in, you've got to be realistic with yourself and your skills and what it is. And that's not to say that think you're awesome, but if somebody calls me and says, hey, I got my license yesterday, I don't have any support, I want to get a contract with you. My first response is realistic, is I can't do that. Everything with me is going to be over the phone or email. So if you're looking for a ride along, I'm not your person. Now I've got, I know people in your area, let me refer you out to them. And there's other guys and other FMOs, FMOs network pretty heavily. People think we're all pitted against each other, but everybody networks pretty well and refers agents back and forth. I actually, not Christian, not an FMO, but I actually called Christian on an agent that called in and name dropped him. So my first phone call was, hey, Christian, tell me, about this, or, things like that. And so FMOs do that. And so we do that not to check up on agents, but you also do that of like, hey, you might be looking for something life and annuity, or you might be a brand new agent. That's not me. I'm going to send you to somebody else, or, hey, you might do a Medicare Advantage, maybe Tony Warren, he's a guy I know. So there's just a lot of different conversations as the upline. Be realistic of what you can offer and what you can do with yourself. And don't try to brag yourself up, because the insurance industry in general, but the world craves, I guess, honesty in a way. And that's my mantra. It's just about life. Valid people seek out valid people. And so whenever you're just honest, like, that's not my strength, you get more out of that than trying to fake yourself, fake it till you make it. Because now you get an agent. If you think the agent that hung up on you on the contract is mad at you, imagine getting that agent contracted and they're stuck without a Medicare Advantage lockout period and can't go anywhere. And all of a sudden you can't help them. Now you're really the bad guy just because you didn't answer, or, you sold them on that you were some life or annuity expert and turns out you don't know anything about it. Or Medicare supplement, you can't tell them what a G, N, or F is.
Okay, so I have a question. I have a question based on that line of thinking is it that there's a lot of uplines who are actively not great for agents, or is it more likely that agents are being mismatched with the wrong upline? What do you think is more because I think it's totally valid what you're saying. I think most often what's happening is someone who is looking for something like a Medicare Advantage contract ends up with like an annuity shop, just because someone at the annuity shop was like, yeah, sure, we'll take that contract. Like, so what, do you think there's just a lot of bad matches being made?
I think people are quick to get their license and quick to get on Facebook and see who's making six figures. And then that's who they're going to call. And that's not saying that there's people out there that are making money. Yeah. But there's a lot of people get caught up in a hype and all of a sudden think that, hey, I'm going to be doing this, in 6 months, I've only got 6 months of struggle. Well, what industry have you ever been that 6 months of struggle is going to get you to the top? That's not true. There's very few people that can start out in anything and not have a struggle for a little bit. So they will, number one, either call an upline that won't say, hey, I'm not the guy for you. Or honestly, the upline could be completely intentional and not match with the agents. I've had agents not match with me on things that I feel like I'm really good at. We just, for some reason, we couldn't get matched together. It didn't work out. And so the agent will go off and contract with somebody else. It's a wide variety, but I really think it's research, goal plan. If your first 12 months and you don't have a goal that's been thought of, if you've not spent at least a month putting together a goal, is it really a goal? I mean, honestly, this is supposedly your business plan. Getting an insurance license because it's easy and calling whoever you found on Facebook or YouTube to get a contract, that's no career. You got to have a game plan and research what you're doing.
So one thing I wanted to say too is I think it's a big part, especially when it's a new agent. Like, I think it's a big part of that upline's job to take the time to spend with you, whether it's on like a Zoom call, a phone call, face-to-face if it's in their state or whatever like that, and to come up with that game plan, to get them to think that way, to be like, okay, what do you want to accomplish this year? Where are you going? That's always been a big focus for me with new agents. And I feel like, that has made a difference in terms of kind of giving them some direction.
If you take the contract, take the call.
Right. Like, like we've had contracts with people that we just desperately needed the contract and then they'll never talk to us again. You know what I mean? Like, and the, you know, we'll write like 10, 20 apps and they'll be like, hey, thanks. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're that guy. You know, I'm like, you're that guy. You came in. I mean, I have no idea who they are or something like that. And we'll end up moving the contract later, you know, but there's no relationship. But like, there's too much of that. I feel like, you know, like I need a contract. And sometimes that's okay. You know, like if you're established and things like that and you just need a contract, you know, sometimes that's okay. Like you don't really need as much training. You know what you're doing a little bit. But I think it's kind of a fine line, if you will, because I can think of multiple situations where, you know, we've worked with an agent or I've worked with an agent and we've just poured into that person. You know, we provided them tons of training, resources, support, everything like that. And it's like, you know, they still blame us for everything. And I think that comes down to,
Christian, you're a terrible upline. Of course it's your fault. I mean,
and then all of a sudden Glenn's got you on his FMO page and he's put bad reviews on you.
Yeah, seriously. I go on there and it's
don't reveal my master plan, Scotty.
I go on there and there's 8 reviews, all negative, all by anonymous Glenn Shelton.
Some agent GS. I don't know. He's reviewing everybody, and it's horrible review.
But my point is to kind of circle back with that is I think there's 2 scenarios here. I think sometimes an agent might have a hard time breaking through because they don't get that support and training with their upline. But then there's other times where like, and it's not just with us, like I'll see someone that is with another group and I know that they're top notch. You know what I mean? And I know how they treat their agents. I know everything that they bring to the table, and they still just, you know, it's a big problem. Like, I think some of this is a hard industry. This is a hard business, and not everybody's built for it.
But every business is. Like I said, it goes back to, I mean, every business, if it was an easy business, everybody would be millionaires. You know, and it doesn't matter. If I was working construction, I would properly prepare myself and learn how to do that trade well. You don't get to just get a truck and tools and all of a sudden you're in construction. And going back to like Christian said, there's a lot of times uplines and FMOs are blasted up. These people are terrible. And I'd say 70% of the time that's true with a grain of salt. Agents don't go out there and blast their fault on things. I mean, that doesn't happen. Whether you're an FMO, you could just be an MGA and gave somebody a contract to give them a contract, say we're your buddy, and then things went south. I've seen that where guys weren't even trying to recruit and have just been thrown under the bus by an agent that, you know, didn't want to answer their phone call until they needed something. Or you're telling them, hey, let's get your contracting done, but all of a sudden you're 4 months into the process and it's just not happening. And all of a sudden the agent's out there doing stuff. And I've had that happen to me. I mean, and there's a couple other people in the same space we have done some texting and was like, well, I wish we had a Facebook group to go out there and put an agent on blast, but we don't. I mean, because it just out of integrity and respect, that's not our place. But at the same time, uplines and FMOs get blasted pretty heavily, and some of y'all are pretty lucky your FMO's not posting on Facebook because it happens a lot.
Yes.
But I mean, it's true.
Oh my gosh, say it twice.
That sounds terrible, but it's true. I mean, in any area of life, nobody's going to tell you their fault. Just like if you called me, you know, I'll give you my version, but it's my version of the story. And that's the risk of the recruiting world. And that goes back to, do you have the capital to do it? Do you have the time to do it? And then do you have the gumption to not react on Facebook every time you're blasted? If you don't have that, that's the third part. You can't be Facebook trigger happy. You just can't. And
I love it.
In any business.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.
You know, one thing that was mentioned that I really like is that this isn't unique to insurance, right? So I've kind of been able to see both sides of it. I have my own business that's technically not selling insurance, right? The marketing side. And I've also sold insurance. And, you know, the fail rate of business in general is about 90%. Sorry, Cody. You know, it's not just insurance agents. It's actually everybody fails 90% of the time in the first year of doing any business. So you're absolutely right. Which is why I've said this before on Taco Tuesday, is the agents who come in and they treat it like a business, they are so much more likely to succeed than the agents who just come in here and they're like, okay, upline, make me rich, like beam me up, Beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah,
Um,
it is too. Hey, I want to watch this YouTube video. I want this contract. I need these leads. I read on a Facebook post that somebody said if my upline's not doing this for that, and it's, well, I can't help you with that. That's okay. I know somebody else that can fit that. I'll tell you what my strengths are, and that's back to if you're the upline, or if you're an FMO, or even if you're an MGA, I can't offer that. And here's somebody that those tools that you need, here they are. The sandbox is plenty big enough. We've all got our own unique set of tools or leads, what we do, that's going to fit everybody.
So Tony posted, Tony, I'm going to read your comment here for those who might just be listening and not on Facebook. Definitely say it's both of those, but a lot of agents don't even know what they really need from an upline. And he goes on and he continues that, but that's the truth, is that most of these agents have no idea what they even need. And so that's why it really does come down to the responsibility of the upline to tell the agent whether they can actually help them or not. And again, from a business point of view, what I can tell you is I was so much happier. The more stringent I got with the people I work with, I became so much happier and ultimately more profitable as a business versus, oh, please, whatever, I'll take anybody. Like, oh, you're going to throw money at me? Yes, come on, I'll take your money. And yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I think the more picky we can all be with who we work with, I think it'll ultimately make everybody happier. And I love your transparency, Scotty. I think that's so lacking with uplines in general is, if you don't do it, don't tell them you can. It's real simple,
That's,
Yep. Like
Taylor,
I get a lot of agents that, they're like final expense whizzes, like they know more about final expense than I have ever known, because it's just not what we do. It's not a strength of ours, really. Like we'll trip into some here and there, but we'll write it, but it's just not a strength of ours, not like the Medicare. And, I have agents that will work with us on the Medicare for like 6 months and they'll be incredibly happy. And they'll be like, we love working with you guys. We'd like to move our final expense contracts over. And sometimes we'll do it if it really works out. But like most of the time I tell them, I'm like, listen, you're doing good with the final expense. And to be honest, you probably know more about it than I do. So what am I going to do for you? You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to possibly do for you? Like, I think that those kind of conversations and that, real bluntness of it need to be more of a common practice.
And again, that would happen in any business you do. I mean, any business you do, you could go be a banker or construction, and you will interview for a job, and you're whoever is hiring you, your upline, your boss will say, these are my expectations. This is what we do, and this is what we're going to do. And then you in the job interview will assess the job that you're going to do and say, I want to work there, I don't want to work there. And so it's, and I always break it down like that, because there's principles that are in business that just because we have insurance licenses and we're selling, and you've got MLMs or whatever you want to call the hierarchy structures out there, it's still a business, and you've got to, when you get your license, you're starting a business, and if you don't prioritize it, nobody else will. And that's another thing, going back to when you get your license. I understand there's a lot of people have to work full-time jobs to get their insurance license, but you're going to be a lot slower on that. I'm not saying go quit your full-time job, maybe work up the savings and then decide to jump careers, because then you're just wearing yourself out. You're trying to make phone calls at 11 o'clock at night to make insurance sales, because your other job, you don't get home till 7 o'clock, and that you can't succeed doing that, but it's really hard. It's really hard if you're not set up to make that jump into a new career. Treat it like a career, treat it like a job.
Scotty, we've got a question here from David.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that too.
Which one of you would like to field this one? I want to know.
Ooh, pick me, teacher.
I'll let you two fight over it, and I'll just be the narrator here. David says, how do FMOs or uplines make money?
It's simple.
Great question.
They screw over agents. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, depending on who you ask, no, it's override based, just like your MGA is. It all funnels up.
So define. So let's say I'm just a total noob. I know nothing. Like, what's an override?
So we're going to say when a company A releases a product that needs to get sold, and they're going to say there's 6 points of commission we're going to pay out on this. The top level, you've got 6 points, and you want to give, it's not who you want to give, but production based, you have another person that say the street is 2 points, right? So the person that's selling is 2 points, so your override is at 4 on it. Now the reason there's levels in between that is not because you're trying to, I don't know why my phone's blowing up, but it's not that you're trying to get that large of an override. You have that override because sometimes you have an agency manager that needs higher than street. Sometimes you've got somebody that might be a point below you. So if that's a 6 point system, you might sign somebody up that gets 5 points. And then they underneath them have street levels too. So that pie is getting broke up as it goes. But really, so FMOs have got that hierarchy structure set up where it's just override based. And it varies by carriers. You know, med subs, you've got the percentage points, you've got some products that it's a flat base. But honestly, that's what it is. And that's the best transparency there is because that's how they structure it.
I think a lot of agents, you know, they have this perception of overrides that, you know, it's coming off of their plate, and it's not. You know,
yeah, nobody's taking your commissions away by having an override.
Yeah, I mean,
but
if you're below street,
below street, yeah,
yes,
yeah. But I wouldn't even call that an override, though. You know, I would call that they're taking some of your commissions, plus they're getting the override.
Well, it doesn't even matter because at the end of the day, you interviewed that upline, and the upline interviewed you, and you guys came to that. If you're shysty giving away below street contracts without telling the agent they're below street and you're not doing anything, then yeah, that's shysty. Now, if an agent comes to you and they're new and they need a level below street, and you say, okay, you know, say on Manhattan Dental, this is just from that, the 40% is street, but there's a 35 and a 30 below that. You know, if somebody's giving you a 30 and calling it street and not doing anything for you, that's not what you do. And now, if you say, I'm going to pay you 30%, you can work your way up to the street. This 10% is because I'm investing a lot of my time into making you better because you're a brand new agent. I'm also giving you leads. And if you and that agent have that agreement, or even if you're a call center agent, you're all away. You know, it's a business, it's a job you're applying for. So your salary is between you and your boss, you know, and if you accept that salary from your boss, then it's kind of on you at the end of the day. So you need to ask the questions up front, you know, is this a street level commission? If you're below street, ask why you're below street. Now, if the guy himself, if your upline is a street level agent, he just can't give you levels, so therefore he's giving you lower levels, then you probably need to go somewhere else and get that street level. But if you got your license yesterday and the guy's devoting 3 hours a day to training you, then that's a different conversation. And again, so that will always go back to your day one conversation. Before you sign that contract, know your commissions. There's not a right or wrong level, but know where you're at and why you're where you're at and be realistic about it.
So yeah. One thing I wanted to touch on with that, Scotty, that, you know, I think to kind of piggyback on what you said, and I feel like this conversation has gone to agent contracting. And
yeah,
like
this
FMO
did take a bit of a
not that
left
it's a bad
turn.
thing.
But it's first year. You need to know this stuff first year.
I mean, this is a great conversation,
yeah.
but so this is something that's interesting to you guys. And Scotty, you see it probably all the time. Like, the other thing is when you're contracting with an agent that's, you know, maybe newer in the business, maybe in their first year, maybe even in their second year, and let's say they don't qualify for anything more than like a GA contract, and, you know, you start working with them, it's fine until you get to the point that maybe you want to recruit too, right? And then you can't really move up to the GA level. Like, let's say you're in a situation where you contract with someone, they're newer, and you have a better work ethic than they do. Happens all the time. You grow faster than they do. You end up having a bigger book than they do, and you ultimately start recruiting. Well, you're stuck at that point. You have two options. You stay at street level and you don't recruit, or you have to go somewhere else to get that GA contract. And I think that's another thing, you know, that is not touched on enough in the industry. Look at the levels as like ceilings, right? Whatever ceiling your upline has above you, you can't go above that ceiling and be under them at the same time. It's impossible. Like a GA can't be under another GA, right? Like we have a lot of SGA contracts, a couple MGA contracts, and we have like 2 or 3 GA contracts, right? With my company. Anytime someone comes to me with a contract request for a carrier that we have a GA contract with, I am always disclosing that because I don't want to run into issues down the road with them if they want to start recruiting. But it also puts the GA agents kind of in a tough spot too, because like you have to grow fast. If you're a GA, your number one goal in life, in my opinion, should be get to MGA. So that's not an issue anymore, you know. But yeah, I think that's something that's.
Can you?
know,
Well,
people
I
don't
know
talk about.
we've been throwing around a lot of these abbreviations for those who might watch or hear this, they're brand new, they don't know anything. GA, general agent, MGA, managing general agent.
Master general agent.
Oh, is it master? I thought it was managing.
We call Christian master, but it's manager.
I like to be called master. Okay.
Keep your kinks to yourself, please. Thank you. So, and then, is BGA in line with MGA, or is BGA above MGA? Broker general agent, BGA?
You know, I'll be real honest with you. I think sometimes there's a bunch of those terms and companies just grab a term and put it on a level.
Yeah.
Because I see IMO, FMO, NMO, those are thrown around. MGA is typically one level above street, managing general agent. GA is always street. A general agent contract, the GA is looked at as street, but a general agent contract is what all of us fill out, right? And then your commission schedule determines your level. And so I get that question a lot, and I'll send somebody a general agent contract, even if they're below street, because their upline said, hey, send so-and-so this contract. And so I'll just send them a general agent contract until their upline, you know, you send me the commission schedule. And, you know, that way you and them are working commission out, not me. And so the GA is general agent. You're an independent agent, regardless of level. And then you start looking at terms. It'll vary by company, you know, that you might see levels and all that. You know, some carriers could have 7 to 10 levels, and some only have 4 or 5. And so FMO is a pretty broad term of kind of top of the food chain, but there's, you know, some call it NMO, IMO. It just varies.
And NMO is my favorite. I love when people say NMO, like it's like, I'm one of 5 people who have this NMO contract. Like they've got kryptonite in their pocket or something. One thing I wanted to throw in too, so on the Medicare side, I don't feel like that below street thing is quite as, I guess, like as big of a deal. On the life side, I came into the industry selling final expense, and I was led to believe that 100% was the street level, right? And to someone new and ignorant, which I absolutely was, wet behind the ears, green as can be, it made sense in my head. You can't go over 100%, right? And then to find out, I mean, I felt really jaded because it was probably almost a year, maybe 2 years down the road when I learned that you can get a street level at 110, 15, 20, 25,
40
area. Yeah. So, and not that I would have necessarily been upset if the upline had done what you said, Scotty, and they had been transparent from the get-go, and they said, hey, listen, this is street, but we're giving you this because we're doing this. Like if that had been the proposition up front, I don't think I would have had any qualms. They did help me a lot, and they did stuff like subsidized marketing, like training, you know, like giving me a desk, etc. These things that had value, but the problem is they just weren't transparent about it. So I do like what you're saying, though. I think it really does just come down to being transparent.
Honesty.
Yeah.
I know agents that are top agents in this country, production-wise. You know, of all the agents we have writing, they're at the top, and they're well below street because their upline provides an office for them. Their upline provides them a place to sit. And sometimes I'll talk to the upline, like, I've asked him, do you run into issues with that? He goes, we only had one agent that went on a trip one time, and he came back, and all these guys said, I'm getting gypped on my commission, this and this. And they said, okay, well, we're going to start charging you for your office. Your leads cost this much. They started giving him what he's getting, you know, and he'd agreed on that a long time ago, but he kind of forgot how good he had it and said, you want to be a street agent? Okay, well, you have the knowledge to be a street agent. You don't need the free office, the leads, all the stuff that we're giving you. So you need to go get yourself an office. You need to figure out how to get your leads. And the guy got smart and did the math and goes, no, thanks, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, and so it's again, the upline and the agent both just need to sit down and have a conversation and be realistic of where you're at, of what you can offer, why you're offering what you do. And the agent, the same thing, be realistic of what your needs are, what you're looking for. And I don't know, I cringe every time there's the conversation of what's expected from your upline FMO, because it's so circumstantial. It's not even in defense of FMOs, it's in defense of general agents and managing general agents, because somebody might be offering you this level, but if you're not asking them for what they're, why you're getting this, stop expecting free leads. We all know that free leads are junk, because if they were good leads, the managing general agent that's a writing producing agent would keep them. I mean, that's at the end of the day. That's why we don't give out leads. We have a call center, and we had a better return selling them in-house than giving them the agent. So that's why we sell them in-house. So we don't give out leads. And we tell everybody that asks me for leads, I say, no, we don't do that. And here's why. We have a better return on our investment by selling them in-house. So that's again, I mean, in synopsis, if you get a brand new license, and if I could leave you guys with something, it's have a realistic conversation. Look at where you're at, where your goals are, where you want to go. And just because, Joe Blow on LinkedIn or Facebook, did it, is making 200,000 after 2 years, you got to look at your circumstances, where it's at. If you're working a full-time job till 7 o'clock at night and you only can devote 2 hours a day to insurance, then you might need to be, maybe go work in an insurance office or an agency for a little while and make that your full-time job. Again, call center agents get a bad rap, but I've seen some of the most successful agents come from a call center because they picked up good habits, they had good managers. And so by the time they hit the ground running to start buying their own leads and setting their own system up, they didn't have to learn a craft. They were already the master trade.
So,
go ahead. Go ahead, Glenn.
I was just going to say, let's, for the sake of argument, assume that the agent found an upline. What would the next step or the next, to kind of progress this original question along is, what does an agent do for their first 12 months really to be successful? Let's assume they find an upline. What's next? What is the next thing that really needs to happen in order for them to be successful? What would you say? What were you going to say, Christian?
So it's amazing how in sync our minds are, because I was going to essentially answer the question before you even answered it, before we even asked it. So another thing, like, assuming that the contracting is all in place, let's say you're in a good spot, you're in a good position with a good organization and you're receiving the training. I always like, and Scotty, I think this kind of comes back to what you just said about not just looking for free leads and, doing the deal with the devil for free leads kind of thing. I think the best thing an agent can learn how to do in their first 12 months is, learn how to generate your own leads in some way, right? Whether that be cold calling, whether that be marketing, whether that be, getting out in the community and doing some grassroots marketing, but find a way to generate your own business so you don't have to rely on somebody else to feed you. That's my take.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And so that's, like I said, if you're an agent and you call us, the first thing I'm going to ask, what do you want to do and how are you going to do it? And that's not saying how it's all on you. I'm here to guide you and direct you. But again, you are establishing your business. You've spent your time researching how to establish a business before you jumped into said business, I hope. So you're putting your game plan in place. I always tell people the best leads are grassroots. If you guys don't follow Rebecca Davis on the Medicare bill on grassroots leads, you're missing out. Some of my best agents are small town agents that are they're not worried about Google or Facebook famous. They're just the insurance agent in their town and they get involved and they are the insurance agent there. You look at a lot of agents, that was 8% was really kind of fun for me to connect with those guys, and ladies too. Jackie Walter, Melina Rogers, rock stars up in the Northwest of just being good agents, and so when you start looking at, now you're contracted, you have your routing number, what do you do? Well, pull out that game plan you made because you're establishing a business. So what was your goal? Well, I live in Grandview, Texas. I want to be the best insurance agent in Grandview, Texas. Okay, so what I need to do, get involved in the community, start networking. Or that game plan says, I want to be good at phone sales. I don't want to leave my house. I'm going to do everything over the phone. Here are the lead companies I've researched. Maybe I got something I put together. So call your upline, because he took your contract. He's going to take your phone call and he's going to direct you to Glenn. And so on that, you say, hey, I've got these lead people together. Obviously you're a producer. What do you do? I found you because you're good at phone sales. So therefore, what do you do? And then that's the conversation, and then just start growing from there, and then start putting your sales practice into it.
Yeah, I think it's like the contracting, the upline, there's the training. So you have to know how to sell before you sell. So
you have to know about the basics too, right? Like you have to know what a med sup is. You have to know what A and B is. You have to know all that basic stuff too.
Legalities, right? You need to know what you can and can't do. I mean, for God's sake, don't go rebating, right? Holy hell. Like
SOA.
Recruiting. And if you're recruiting, please train your agents on that. I think Joe Tritola did the best post I couldn't have loved more last fall is, if you bring an agency to me, my job is not to teach your agents what Medicare is. It's so true. I get so many phone calls from people that they're not calling their upline because their upline gave them my phone number. And so now I'm explaining to them what the difference between a plan F and a plan G is. But I think that goes back to on the agent, if you had a game plan before you dove into this, you researched this business, you have a business plan in force. And so your next step is kind of lined out. When you want to write Medicare, we just discovered what you want to do. Now, how are you going to do it? Are you going to be phone sales? Are you going to be local? Are you going to do mail drop? Mail's not dead, despite people say. We spend hundreds of thousands in mail. Mail's not dead. I had a guy actually, I was telling Christian in your hometown, wrote a shit ton of lasso because he sent out 5,000 letters. And it was just obnoxious the amount of lasso he wrote just off that letter. So research what you want to do, how you want to do it, and then go from there. Because, like I said, if you jumped into this without a game plan, you're not going to cut it. You're going to spend your first year scrambling and blaming your upline is what's going to happen. Because your upline, whether they're in person or they're in FMO, they can help you so much. If you don't have a game plan, it's not their job to make your game plan for you. They're there to assist you in your game plan, but they're not building your game plan for you. Your path to success is paved by you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think so. Again, I think there's the upline, the contracting. I think you have to learn. So somewhere in the process, you got to know how you're going to sell. And then the last part that really, in my opinion, separates those who fail from those who don't, it's your activity level. I can't train an agent in sales skills. Like I can make someone better, but I can't say, okay, you're now going to be a top closer. You're going to close 80% of your leads. That's always going to fluctuate, you guys. And there's a million variables why that will fluctuate. But the bottom line is your activity level is 100% determined by you. And the law of large numbers, which is absolutely true and has yet to be beaten, is the more people you talk to, the more people you're going to quote, the more quotes you run, the more applications you're going to submit, the more applications you submit, the more you'll get issued, the more you'll get paid. And it's super simple as like, if I could just really boil it all down, and you looked at the last 10 agents that failed, and then you looked at the last 10 agents that succeeded in their first 12 months, show me their activity level on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis. And I guarantee you the people who failed, they weren't having enough conversations. And there's a billion ways to do that. It's not just working with lead heroes. It's not just door knocking, cold calling, direct mail. It's just having the conversations. Like you said, I mean, the grassroots stuff is excellent. Referrals are amazing. Family, working through your warm network, the Dream 100, which is as cliche as it might sound. Take your 100 people closest to you that, potentially could buy insurance from you and network through them. I mean, there's so many ways to do this, but if you're not if you don't have activity, if you're not actively prospecting or talking to people, of course you're going to fail. Like what? It's not your upline. It's not your upline. You suck. I'm sorry.
The quote Tony Merwin, buck up. That's
Fuck up!
20 Also, on as far as you're talking about your activity, Rebecca Davis on one of her posts one time was, if your friends and family add you on Facebook and they don't know you're an insurance agent, you probably need to change that.
Yeah, I was just
Oh
about
my
to say
gosh.
that.
Yes.
Say that. So
Yes.
here's the other thing, guys. Here's the other thing that makes me crazy. This is just my personal opinion, right? Like, I can't tell you the number of clients that I've gotten over the years just because I'm posting on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page. Like, if I make a video or I write a blog article or I do something, I'm putting it on my Facebook page, and you never know who's watching. You know what I mean? Like, you might have I was having this conversation with Pete earlier today too. Like, you might have 1,000 Facebook friends, 2,000 Facebook friends. You don't know that this friend you made at a job you had 10 years ago, her mom's turning 65. You just don't know. Right. So like, and here's just this, my opinion. I don't know if you guys would agree with this. Stop making your Facebook accounts private unless you got something to hide. That's just my opinion, because prospects want to research you. And that's in my opinion. Prospects want to research you before they meet with you, before they do business with you. Like, I can't believe how many insurance agents don't post about their business, right? They don't talk about their business. Nobody knows what they do. They're like this, enigma. And they have their Facebook accounts and their Instagram accounts and all these stuff private. So their prospects, when they try to look them up, they can't see anything, and it sketches them out a little bit. That's just my opinion. Like, I've gotten business because I'm so open. Like,
to
all my
piggyback on
accounts are
that,
public.
if you want to prospect off Facebook, which is, I think, Facebook is the easiest thing. There's a reason that everybody that's selling Cincy has a business page or something, because it's so easy to prospect on Facebook. If you want to do that, I tell you, look at Justin Brock. There's nobody more social media branded than that guy. And there's a
100%.
reason probably why he's good at what he does. And so if you want to market off Facebook, I would refer you to copy the master, on that. If you're saying, I want to make leads on Facebook, I want people to call me, and then you're like Christian saying, your Facebook's on private, Facebook tells people what you do for a living. If you don't tell people you're an insurance agent with them just click on your profile, then you probably need to tweak what your life is. Again, a lot of my personal Facebook, I'm not prospecting to clients, so therefore I'm not posting about products on mine.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're an agent, that's what you're wanting. The same thing if you're wanting to do outbounds or anything, you're going to brand your communication method to your insurance agency. And so I think that's a good first year is figuring out how to brand yourself, figuring out who you are. You're a freshman in college. You're that girl at the sorority house that's just trying to find herself in life. That's the best way to put it. So, and that's what you're doing. You're just trying to figure out the next 4 years of your life, because if you're a Medicare agent, get ready for 4 years of education before you've got your degree and you're a master. And they don't want to hear that. That the people that bounce out in the first year, 9 times out of 10, it's because they called somebody and said, I want to make 100,000 this year. And they did 1 year of a 4-year project, and it wasn't for them, and that's, if you show me a new agent that's at 2 or 3 years that's still grinding, that's somebody that people are going to be gravitated towards and want to jump in and be successful because they're going for it. And that'll go back to, and I could go on forever on this, guys, but I'll go back to, I will always say the insurance industry will always be a part of my life. It'll be a career for me. But at the same time, I think that sometimes it's so easy to jump into that a lot of people get frustrated at the lack of immediate success. So, if you're a new agent, you just got your license yesterday, get ready for 4 years. Everything that you will do in life requires an education. This is no different. Networking, relationships is key. That helps you with your upline. Always be upfront with what you want and ask your upline to be the same. And trust your gut. If you don't have a good feeling about the upline, it's okay to call somebody else. There's enough of us out there. Somebody will work with you.
So Debbie had a question. I feel like we kind of covered this, but her question was, why is there so much talk about building an upline versus building an agency in the Medicare space? I responded to her. I said, it's not just Medicare. It's all of insurance specific. I mean, you could talk about even other downlines outside of the insurance world where it's kind of the same thing. But I think, and here's where like you kind of have to have like a spiritual journey on yourself. You have to know what you want, because I can tell you firsthand, I know a lot of agents who chose to not go down the downline road, and they just built up their book, and they were so much happier than when they had tried to build a downline. It's not for everybody. That's the other thing.
It's
like
hard.
you need to know what you want, and you have to execute. And I know that's kind of in line with what you were saying, Scotty, but why is there so much hype, especially when we were just talking about the override in the Medicare space, especially if we're talking like supplements, it's so small.
It's
So why
it's incredibly
The
small.
downline happens because it's easy money, number one. Number two, the downline conversation happens a lot on Facebook. It's not, there's so many agents that are not active on Facebook that would just astound with it. You know, they're not active. They're just good old boys that have had an insurance license for 30 years and they're massive producers, and they never once thought about recruiting because they don't want to. One guy the other day told me, I don't want to deal with other people's shit, is what he said. But he was just like,
that's
he's
it.
a good old
That's
East
it.
Texas boy. And he was just like, he goes, I want to write my business. I want to retire. He goes, I've got grandkids. And he goes, I paid my dues to live on my renewal. And so the downline conversation, to answer your question, Debbie, is that conversation is happening a lot on Facebook because it's easy to recruit on Facebook. It's easy to show your numbers on Facebook because if you're trying to attract agents, that's an easy way to get agents to come to you. So therefore, that conversation's happening more on Facebook. If you start going to networking events, 8% was full of people in the room that have no interest in downlines. They just want to learn how to be better, and so go to events and meet agents, because you'll find that a lot of people in the room aren't interested in networking. They're just interested in building a business.
I think
This is, hang on really fast. This is interesting because I feel like, Christian, you're in the middle of this. Like, this is you in real time, right? You have a book of business, you have a successful agency. Now you're really looking at the downline. And again, what Scotty said earlier, like, it's a huge time suck. So if you put a gun to my head and you said, Glenn, you are either going to sell insurance and build a book of business, or you're going to build a downline and then have them essentially do the sales, I would be 10 times more tempted to just sell and build my own book and not build a downline, more or less from what Scotty just said there. But I'm curious, since you are literally in the middle of, like, you couldn't be a better, like, science subject for this. Like, tell us,
put
what's
me
it
under
like?
a
You're in the eye
microscope.
of the storm. You're in the middle of it. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's very true. I think one thing I've learned early on, my dad told me when I first told him I wanted to start recruiting agents. This was about 2 years ago. And I was under him at that point. I'm really not under him for hardly any contracts anymore, because it just happens, I mean, he's getting closer to retiring. I'm still growing. It got to the point where my business was as big as his, if not maybe a little bit bigger, and I couldn't continue to grow and be under him at the same time. And so, but he told me that one agent is as much work as 100 clients, and I have found that to be 100% accurate. And
you have their clients. I mean, essentially, you have their clients now at your feet that you have to do stuff for.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's very accurate with that. I mean, so currently where we're at, we have, and we're just talking about agents that have at least one contract with us. In my organization, we got 50 right now, in the 50s, somewhere in there. And the workload is enormously insane. So I've made it very clear lately that I'm making a strong, aggressive push to try to bring in captives. Why? Because I can't do both. I can't do both anymore. It's just too crazy. My schedule from the time I walk into the office to the time I leave is ridiculous at this point. It's so packed with everything because I'm trying to do 2 different roles in the agency at this point. And that is what it is, guys. I mean, when you're trying, it's almost like you're building 2 businesses at once. Think of it like that.
Yeah, perfect. And I wasn't trying to say that don't build downlines, but don't go into it with that being your goal, because there's so many different roles. Every industry will have roles, and I hate saying every industry. That's a phrase I'm overusing on this call, but So every industry has roles. I'm a marketer, and I own that. I know, even though people think marketers a bad taste or all that, I'm not calling you trying to get you to move a contract. But at the end of the day, I'm a marketer. That's my role in this industry. If you're selling leads, that's your role in the industry. If you're an agent, that's your role in the industry. If you own an FMO, that's your role. You start taking out, marketers, all of a sudden insurance companies, they can get their products out. You start taking out FMOs, there's a reason that companies have FMOs in place, because they're not taking agents direct. You take out lead people, all of a sudden, what are we all doing? We're back 30 years ago. So that's when you start looking at, are you going to start recruiting? You've got to take it out. Are you going to be a salesperson? Or are you going to be an upline builder? Are you going to build leads? And Christian, you just hit the nail on the head. It's a different business. So, am I going to be a construction worker and also a landscaper? Yes, those are similar, but can I effectively do those two industries? Can I effectively be an upline and effectively be an agent? And if you're working out of your basement, I question if you are. If you don't have an assistant, at least, that's whenever people are at the point where they're deciding to grow past where they're at, that's my first suggestion, is get an assistant, because somebody that can help you with your paperwork. Reading over contracts is hard. I mean, you guys have all filled a contract out, so you know how many pages there are. I today process 6, trying to make sure that contract is right and what it's going through. And so yeah, it's definitely a system, and I would encourage, if you're a new agent, concentrate on being a good agent. Put recruiting in the back seat. Don't even think about recruiting. If you're jumping in saying, I'm going to be a successful insurance agent and I'm going to be frustrated in 6 months and I'm not recruiting and successful, then I'm sorry, I'll see your real estate sign on the side of the road. That's probably what's happened. So it all goes back to everything you do as a business, treat it like a business, and know your role, and be good at your role. Be a good upline, be a good agent, be a good lead person, and we've been trashing uplines agents all day, but the same thing for leads. If you're selling shitty leads, I'm gonna throw shitty leads. Glenn's selling good leads, but it goes everywhere you go. Just
time to go. All right, we're having a cut.
Yeah. I want everything you're doing. If you're a good upline, be a good upline. If you're a good agent, be a good agent. Be a good lead source. Just do good in the world. That's all we want out of each other.
Scotty, can I brag on you in senior security for a second? Because one thing I want to take a second to point out is you guys and Galen and Taylor and everybody over there have done what I'm trying to do, and that's build an organization that successfully does both. Because you guys do both successfully. You just have 2 different sections of your business, right? You have direct-to-consumer sales in-house, and you're an FMO, contracting. Like it can be done, but you have to scale properly and take the proper steps. You can't start out senior security benefits. Like you can't just start out and be senior security benefits. Like you have to start somewhere and grow into that. But you guys have, effectively built the business and the model to where you guys are slaying it in both capacities, direct to consumer and as a top-notch FMO contracting organization.
Very difficult to do. And I'm sure Christian would be willing to attest. I mean, basically you had already said that before, but as someone who's built a business from top to bottom and gone through so many hardships, like I can't imagine the stuff that you guys have had to go through. Now, I want to be conscious.
Well, I'll interject on there.
Yeah.
I am very aware that I'm very lucky to have the job I have and work for who I do. And so on the praise on that, I'm going to shift that to Taylor and Galen. I mean, those two are far and away the most intelligent people I know. And I don't say that just because they're my boss and there's a gun behind my head, but Galen literally treats my kids like her grandkids, and Taylor's got Charlie that's my daughter's age, and we genuinely like on each other. But at the same time, they'll tell you, Taylor will tell agents, you better be ready for some debt your first year if you're going to scale. You can't be spending $15 a week on leads, and so they're really the people that they've built this. I'm lucky to work here to do it. I enjoy what I do, but at the same time, they're the ones that have stressed that model of there's a reason that I don't sell direct to consumer, and that we have a room full of agents. If we were a big cluster of everybody trying to do the same thing, not knowing your role, what you're doing, then all of a sudden you're kind of scrambling. And I'll tell you, people are surprised at how small of an organization are. I mean, there's 20 of us total in this building. That's including receptionists. So we don't have a full call center of marketers and all that, because our job is to be good at what we do. I take myself out of the equation. There's 3 marketers I sit next to. They're worth 2 or 3 on other organizations, and we have uplines. We do have uplines on a few contracts and have our own marketers. And I would put any of the ones I sit next to in the room at any organization, and that's not braggadocious. That's just saying how well Taylor and Galen have trained that. And you'll see the call centers they've trained all outperform because of just what they've gone through. And Galen says it was a 35-year overnight success story of what she's done. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Yes, I know I work here. I've been here 8 years, but I wish I could take the credit for building this dynasty. But I just am lucky to work here.
Like I really wanted to take the time to point that out, though, because I don't think people realize that and how difficult that is of what they've done. Like, I mean, you
100%.
see it up close. Like, and I think Justin's doing a great job of doing it right now too. He's built out his sales force that can absolutely terrorize their market for years to come. And
I want to point out on Justin, if you guys don't follow him on social media, how well his team meshes. Did you guys notice that? Not just the agents, but you can see the girls that work in his office to, people, you've got, his brother Johnny, you've got the Medicare minister and Justin. I love how he's got such a well-built team, and Justin's really, he's done an awesome job. Yeah.
I think culture is huge. Culture was what scales beyond, being a good leader. I think creating a good culture environment is what can really scale. So I want to be conscious of everybody's time. There is one more question from Sean that I wanted to ask. So it's, what do you guys think is the biggest value an upline can provide?
Ooh, okay. So for me, I mean, it's tough because you have to look at it from the different perspectives. I'll give you a 2-part answer. I'll give you a politically correct answer. I'll give you what is important to me, and then I'll give you what I think would be important to like a new agent. For me, the biggest thing that an upline can help provide to me is that, assistance with the back office support. You know what I'm saying? Like with contracts and, getting releases processed in a timely manner,
underwriting.
Yeah. I mean, well, not for me, but I think for me, the main thing is like the contracting side of things is where, our FMO,
carrier relationships. That's what I meant by underwriting. Just if anything's going wrong at the carrier level, your FMO has your back. That's kind of your opinion.
And Scotty, you know this better than I do, how many little tiny things there are with every single carrier. Like, it's freaking insane, and the average agent has no clue, right? Like, they have no clue about, qualifications for this contract. What does this contract look like? We got to get a reciprocal release. This is how we do that, they won't give a release. What's the wait time? You know what I mean? Like, there's just all these little things. And so, I'm always learning new stuff about contracting, and I'm learning it through, like my marketer at Agent Pipeline, Lester Kahn, is freaking like, wizard with this stuff. Like, he knows everything about everything. And, that
if we're doing Agent Pipeline shout outs, I'm going to throw Sarah Christie out there because she's bailed me out twice yesterday.
Yeah. But that's what's important to me at this junction in my career. I think for a new agent, their upline's biggest value can be mentorship and training and just proper guidance. You know what I mean? On like the right way to do things. But I think an upline can mean different things to you at different points in your career.
Yeah, that's essentially everything I could say. At different points in your career, your needs for an upline will change, and you might even have to change, we touched on this earlier, you might have to change an upline one day because you might outgrow your upline. That's okay. But yeah, just somebody that's going to answer your call, and that's saying answer your call the first couple times, meaning if it's taken them 20 phone calls to get you to call them back. Don't be mad that they don't answer your call, but it's still, the point on it on the upline is they're there. I think carrier relations is the best thing. I personally hate programs like Insurance Bay. If an agent comes to me and they've never filled out their own contract before, it's hard for me to teach them how to fill a contract out. So a lot of times my value turns into teaching you how to do your own paperwork, and I might sound annoyed at that, but that's a skill.
I was gonna say,
because that's my role every day of like, okay, let me teach you how to do your paperwork, because paperwork is a necessary evil in your business. So somebody that can teach you how to fill out your paperwork right the first time, because everybody's got a horror story of their contract didn't get processed right. So all of a sudden they're down the road and the issues that's caused, and all of a sudden you're waiting 6 months. So helping somebody that can help you your paperwork from the get-go. And then from there, don't be afraid of, networking. I refer agents out all the time. I had somebody call Christian, that's one of my agents, and I had no fear that they would contract somewhere else. And they said, hey, this is what I want to do. And I said, I know a guy that is good at that. Let me give you his phone number. So I think if your upline is not afraid to share his contacts with you, that's something that's good. You don't know how many times people will forward emails and delete the email chain so you can't find a phone number in it. I mean, that's so common, it's scary. Whether they're working their contacts for you, their carrier relations. And then if leads is your good, make sure that you vetted who they're getting their leads with. I'll always tell agents when they say so-and-so is going to give me leads, I always ask, are they buying those leads, or are those leads they're making themselves? Because there's a big difference. And if they're buying their leads, find out where they're buying them from. And when you do that, you find out, did that agent just happen to have a deal on a cheap set of leads, or did he actually go out and buy some good leads? And so vet on that. And you'll be able to ask those questions as you go along. You can't ask every question you need to know in the first phone call with an upline, but it's a relationship just like everything else. And so the best thing is time, their contacts, then of course their knowledge on what's going on in the industry. If you don't know who Tony Merwin is, or you don't know who Christian Brindle or Rebecca Davis, things like that, you probably have not been watching things, or Cody Askin, Justin Brock. There's a reason that they're titans of the industry, are growing to be titans. So that, get some relevancy.
Yeah, I think for me, it comes back to transparency. I've been thinking a lot about it as you guys were answering there. And I think, because again, if they can just be transparent, this is what we do, this is what we don't do, and especially giving a release up front. If, hey, if you outgrow us, if you decide you want to go in a different direction, different organization, I just feel like the amount of time I could have saved if I had a higher level of transparency when I came into the industry, it could have saved me years. I mean, obviously what happened, and in some ways I'm thankful for learning the way that I did. But I think there's some organizations that really operate under a lack of transparency for specific reasons. And I think the more transparent an IMO or FMO can be, provides a ton of value to you as an agent. Some IMOs and FMOs, I think, and uplines are really good at scaling with you. Like you guys just mentioned, if you decide I want to grow an agency, maybe they have the tools in place to help you grow your agency. Maybe they're not structured that way. Maybe they're structured more for, telesales reps or, face-to-face sales. So again, I it's almost like a matchmaker experience. You have to figure out what you want, and then you have to figure out if your upline is going to support what you want. And if that changes, you kind of have to do it again. But
some people like Target, some people like Walmart.
Yeah.
That's just what happens.
And if you're Christian, you like
Aldi.
Yeah, I don't know. Christian likes gas station.
I like Wiggly.
Yeah.
Gas station food. We don't have a Piggly Wiggly in Utah.
The Quick Sack then, or whatever you guys up there doing.
Quick Sack.
So we have a store called Smith's. I bet nobody knows what that is.
Is it like a Kmart?
It's owned by Kroger.
Ugh.
So it's like a Kroger store. But yeah, I mean, I'll go like out of state, and I'll be like, yeah, I picked this up from the Smiths, and they'll be like, the what? The what? I'm like, the Smiths.
Blacksmith.
My
Blacksmith.
granny makes the apples.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate, both of your guys' time today. I really enjoyed our conversation. It was a little off topic, but at the same time, more relevant than ever.
It was good. It was good off topic. It wasn't a bad off topic at all.
It's the most important decision in the first 12 months is the upline. So I think there's a reason we fixated on this, during the course of this entire conversation. That upline can really make or break you in many ways. So I want to take a second. Final thoughts, Christian or Scotty, whoever would like to go first. Scotty, also, please let everyone know where they can find you, how to reach out to you, if they would like to.
Well, I'll go first. That way I keep it short. The final thoughts are, hey, this is cheesy. You're an insurance agent. Welcome. You got your 12 months ahead of you. It's going to be a hard 12 months. Check your relationships out as we talked about. We're glad you're here. Anybody's happy to help. And you'll find that everybody will answer questions. If we don't know the answer, we'll point you to Christian or Glenn or somebody that knows the answer. Find me on Facebook. Scotty James O'Brien. You'll find me in all the groups. Six Figure, Medicare Mentors, Gurus. Those three are the ones I frequent the most often, but I lurk in the other ones. I've been kicked out of a few, so we'll see. I don't know.
I gotta know about this. Which ones kicked you out? Why?
Well, like I said, it's no secret I'm a marketer. So just the fact that I joined somebody else's group as a marketer and got the boot. But
I can't imagine kicking you out of mine.
A face like this, I don't know. But anyhow, yeah, I'm more than happy to connect. This is great. I'm glad we're doing Taco Tuesday, and I'm glad you guys finally had me on. I know it was before with me and Christian, but I finally got to connect with Glenn.
Yes, I was MIA last.
He was having a baby.
I was.
Hey, how was little Bambino?
Good. He's almost 6 months old already, if that's even possible. It's crazy how fast they grow up.
It's downhill.
Number three, which, guys, if you're having kids, little sidebar here, it's not, 3 is not just like +1. Christian, this could be good for you too, because Scotty, maybe you're looking at Scotty, you have 2 kids. See, so
back to back.
Right. So 1, 2, 3 here, right? So my advice at 3 to you guys who are below 3, which I do feel superior saying that. My progeny will live on forever, but it's like a multiple to a power. It's an exponential of how much you think. 1 is just one more. It's one more kid. We've already got 2 kids. What's a 3rd kid? No, that's not it at all, you guys. You have your 3rd kid, and it's exponential how much more everything grows. Diapers, snacks, you name it. Your work goes through the roof. So it is a wonderful experience at the end of the day, but it's a ton of work. I love my kids. Final thoughts on today's episode. I think
Christian. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I thought you were loud, Christian. I wasn't trying to later.
No, Glenn, finish your final thought, and then I'll go.
That's my bad.
No, you're good. So final thoughts, selfish plug here, you guys. We just launched an IMO FMO directory. It was mentioned earlier in the episode. No, I haven't had any secret bad reviews yet, but the goal is to really promote exactly what we've been talking about here in this episode today is, transparency, helping you guys find the right upline, because again, not every upline is going to be a good fit for you. And so that's really the goal of this IMO FMO directory. It's how can lead heroes help insurance agents find the upline that's going to work best for them. And it's just started. We really just launched it in the last month, but the goal is to continue to make this optimized and to continue to grow the list of uplines. If you're an upline and you want to be on our directory, you're welcome to submit. Scotty, you guys are already on. Christian, I'm not letting you on for many reasons.
Is it the bad list?
Yeah, no.
I submitted my inquiry, by the way.
So if you aren't on our directory and you're an upline, IMO, FMO, BGA, you want to be on our directory, you can submit to be on there. If you want to leave a review because you're happy or you're upset with your upline, you can create an account and leave a review right there on that uplines page. If you're wanting to interview these uplines, there's some filter tools where you can kind of figure out, okay, these guys specialize in annuities, these guys specialize in Medicare, final expense, life insurance, etc. So I'm really excited about that. And I think if you're a brand new agent and you're trying to figure out where to start, that could be a really good place to start. So those are my final thoughts. Christian, take it away.
Well, my final thoughts, guys, are if you're new in the business, understand that, in my opinion, I think your first 24 months of an insurance agent, if you are going to make it, is probably going to be some of the toughest experiences of your life. And there's a lot to know in this business. There's so much to know. I mean, you are the CEO, the COO, the CFO, of your business. You have, and it all matters, right? There's none of it that just is unimportant for you to essentially master and capitalize on your business and keep up on. So just keep that in mind. I mean, if you're new to the business, you got to understand that this is work. This is old-fashioned hard work to get where you want to go. And so just, celebrate the work. So, take it with a grain of salt and approach it with a great attitude. And I think you're going to do well. My final remark is, don't miss the freaking post Nahu Summit cocktail party this coming Friday. And I'll announce it later tonight, officially, the time and everything like that. But it'll be a blast. Tony Merwin was going to get smashed.
Christian will bring his hypnotic.
I will, guys. I think I should. I think I need to bust it out again, because that was the first cocktail party I had the hypnotic, I think.
Yeah, you were doing hypnotic. I think Mike Fellback was cooking. It was like a cooking show. It was like you had all these major players, and then there's Mike's cooking and Christian's got his hypnotic, and it was like, this is the most chill set of people I could be on a Zoom with right now of anywhere.
Yeah.
Love it. Party this weekend. Be there. Friday. What time Friday? When is this starting?
So this might not be a popular answer, but I was really planning on starting it off at 10 Eastern Standard Time, just because my daughter doesn't go to bed till that time. And
it's called day drinking, Christian. I don't know if you're familiar with how it's 5 o'clock East Coast. It's 2 o'clock our time. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Do you know how these things work?
That's 7 o'clock your time, right? 8 o'clock my time. And I believe 9 o'clock Scotty's time. We're not all a bunch of grandmas. We should all be awake.
No, I actually agree that that's a great time.
All right.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Good.
My kids have joined the happy hour Zoom before. I'm just going to throw that out there. So no shame.
No shame. Yes.
All right, guys. Well, thank you both for being here. This was a really, really, really good episode. Guys, if you're listening to the podcast version, leave us a review, please. It helps us a lot. We don't want to remain unheard forever. Leave us a review. All right, guys. Adios. Take care.
Bye.
And we're not streaming.